To my brother Riley for getting his pilot's license. Right there. Riley! Hell is that motherfucker?
Water in video games has gone from a simple shade of blue into an aquatic ambience in games like Donkey Kong Country and fully dynamic waves in racing games like Wave Race 64. Thanks to the advancement of graphics and processing power, water in video games has continued to take shape in many different forms across ideas and genres. An element that was once notorious for featuring some of video games' most frustrating levels has now been utilized as a gameplay mechanic, like the flood in Super Mario Sunshine to clean up the tropical island Delfino, or as a setting for a dystopian city in the underwater world of Rapture in BioShock. While not too many games focus on water due to its difficult nature and animation, it hasn't stopped developers from taking advantage of it and often use it as a selling point. Developers like Nintendo included water in a few of their first-party games to showcase what the console had to offer. Other developers have carried on with creating video games centered around water to this day, which has given players plenty of games to explore new depths and a way to beat the heat.
You own just one racing game, it has to be Hydro Thunder. You've never seen anything like this. For 2 players, or 1, Hydro Thunder, rated E from Midway.
Hydro Thunder is a series of boat racing games that were originally released in arcades in 1999. Similar to other great arcade games like The House of the Dead with its gun controllers, Hydro Thunder is a game that was best played at the arcade thanks to the immersive experience, which featured a chair, steering wheel, and a throttle for turbo. Although the game did see a home release on the Dreamcast, the at-home experience wasn't as fun without the additional accessories, but it was still one of the best games on the console. Besides an inclusion in the Midway Arcade Treasures compilation released in 2005, there weren't any more Hydro Thunder games released for a while, and it wasn't until 2010 that a sequel arrived exclusively on the Xbox 360 as a part of Microsoft's yearly Summer of Arcade promotion. Developed by Vector Unit, the game initially started as an original arcade water racing game meant as a throwback to games like Hydro Thunder. Fortunately, they caught the attention of Microsoft Game Studios when pitching the game, who then acquired the Hydro Thunder name for better recognition. Looking at the game, there are multiple modes, starting with the race event, which has 8 tracks from the Simple Lake Powwow to the Japanese Tsunami Bowl Stadium and across Area 51. Some of the standout tracks include the Tropical Monster Island, which has giant mosquitoes flying around and other creatures in the water that can slow you down. There's also the Soul Stream track, where you race through the waterways at nighttime, lit up by the Korean city line. Although there are only a few tracks, there's enough variety with natural, ancient, man-made, and fantasy-based tracks, each with its own set of secrets. There are multiple shortcuts to be found and items to collect throughout each track, which can activate ramps, open gates, and create waves for big jumps. Besides the standard race, the game offered 3 other ways to play. All modes have the same tracks, but each one has a different objective. Ringmaster requires players to drive through rings to build boost and get the best time. If you want more of a challenge, there's Gauntlet, which is a time trial, but with exploding barrels. Lastly, there's Championship mode, where you compete against 15 others in all modes for the most points. There are 9 different boats split between classes: Novice, Pro, and Expert. Higher class boats have better stats, and the events are more difficult, where you'll have to hit every boost, jump, and shortcut just to see the top 3. There's also local multiplayer, where you can play with up to 3 of your friends and even take them online. It seems like online is still somewhat active, as I was able to find lobbies throughout different times of the day. I even won my first match online, mostly because the other racers had connection issues.
Dude, I almost had you.
But as a wise man once said,
it don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
Well, it's the heart of summer. Time to cool down and take a break from all these shooters by sinking into Song of the Deep.
Song of the Deep is an aquatic action-adventure that went under the radar for a lot of people. The game was released in 2016 and was developed by Insomniac, known for the Spyro the Dragon series, Sunset Overdrive, and Marvel's Spider-Man. That same year saw notable titles like Overwatch, Pokemon Go, and Insomniac's own Ratchet & Clank reboot. Made as a passion project by a team of about 15 people, the game game is based on Irish mythology and was also partly inspired by one of the developer's daughters. He wanted to make a heroine that wasn't sexy or badass for his daughter to look up to. Instead, he chose to create a character with qualities that he wanted his daughter to admire, like intelligence, creativity, kindness, and resilience, which resulted in Marin, the heroine of Song of the Deep. Marin, who loves the ocean, lives by the seaside with her fisherman father. One day he goes out to sea, but he doesn't return at night. After waiting many nights, Marin has a dream of her father, who is trapped at the bottom of the ocean. Using materials that her father gathered during fishing, she builds a small submarine and sets out to find her father. While on her adventure, she finds mythical creatures of the deep and a lost city of gold that she believed were simple stories that her father made up. Looking at the game, it's a 2D side-scrolling Metroidvania, but unlike other games in the genre, Song of the Deep focuses on solving puzzles and exploration. Taking control of the submarine, it comes equipped with a claw that's used for grappling objects like anchors or explosives, and it could also be used to attack. Other abilities include a variety of missiles, sonar, and a diving suit, which are all helpful for surviving the deep ocean. One detail that really stood out from Song of the Deep is the art book style presentation. This added life to locations like the remains of a sunken ship, ancient ruins, and dark caverns, while searching for secrets and fighting off enemies. The cutscenes also look like an animated storybook, which, interestingly enough, Insomniac did work to get a children's book published alongside the game. Keeping with the book theme, the story is narrated to the player in cutscenes and other key moments. Although the game isn't as deep as other Metroidvania titles, it's not meant to be overly complicated. It's a short and sweet underwater story that serves as a good entry point to the genre for newcomers. Senran Kagura is a series of games that feature ninja girls, which started as action brawlers but have expanded into other genres like rhythm and pinball games. The gimmick that the series is primarily known for is the in-your-face fan service, which is full of jiggle physics and characters' clothes that explode off their body. The games take inspiration from erotic comedy often featured in some anime and manga in Japan. Because the series started small, the fan service was a way of selling the game. However, after receiving recognition overseas, the development team has thought of taking the series in a different direction in some countries where the content may be problematic. But given the celebration of the series' 10th anniversary in 2021, it's shown to have continued popularity across the world. Developed by Tamsoft, the series started on the 3DS as a side-scrolling beat-em-up in 2011. Over the years, the series made its way onto other consoles, which allowed the developers to do more with the games, like taking it into a fully 3D environment. This led to new games like Peach Beach Splash in 2017 as the next main entry in the series. Looking at the game, there's a couple of modes to dip your toes in, like side stories, multiplayer, and the dressing room. Believe it or not, there is a story going on here which involves all of the ninja schools receiving an invitation to Peach Beach Splash, the eponymous water gun tournament that has been going on since ancient times, where the winner is awarded anything that they desire. Whereas most of the Senran Kagura games are beat-em-ups, PBS moved away from the hack and slash to water gun splash as a third-person shooter. Normally, each character plays differently, but here their playstyle is determined by their weapon of choice. There are 10 water guns to choose from, including the all-around rifle, fast-shooting pistols, long-range sniper, and heavy weapons like a Gatling gun. All weapons have 2 firing modes like extra ammo or firepower, and each one has a unique reload animation. There's also attack and support type cards to customize loadouts in battle with barriers and quick reload skills. Among the modes, the V-Road Challenge was one of the best ways to play the game. Each round is 3 minutes and the only objective is an all-out team deathmatch. It might not be Splatoon, but with its novelty and interesting ideas, it's fun in short bursts.
Humans kill 100 million sharks every year. But only 5 humans are killed by sharks. It's time to even the score.
Maneater is an open-world game that puts players in the role of the apex of the sea, where they eat, grow, and evolve as they make their way through the waters of Port Clovis. Developed by Tripwire Interactive and released in 2020, it came to be known as the Shark RPG. Inspired by games like Jaws Unleashed and Dishonored, the game director claimed that it's the first action RPG where you play as the shark. The idea initially started as an expansion to one of the developers' previous games, Depth, an asymmetrical multiplayer title that featured treasure hunting divers against sharks. Eventually, the expansion became its own game, which built on the core systems like combat and evolutions found in Depth as a new single-player experience. Presented as a reality documentary narrated by Chris Parnell, players follow a young bull shark throughout a tale of revenge that pits hunter versus predator. Jumping into the game, we're introduced to Scaly Pete, who is followed by a camera crew as he hunts down a shark that he believes killed his father. After capturing the target, the offspring escapes, but not before being marked by the hunter and biting his hand off.
The tiny pup responds with an instinct for survival.
Don't ever want to turn off that camera.
Now taking control of the pup, it's not long before new areas are accessible, which are full of creatures to consume in order to grow to full size and take down Scaly Pete. Completing objectives like finding collectibles and defeating bounty hunters grants evolutions to outfit your shark with electric, bone, and shadow sets for different abilities. The bone set is great for ramming boats, the electric set can stun enemies, and the shadow set inflicts poison. Other abilities like the organ evolutions further improve your shark with damage resistance and increased speed perks. There are a variety of locations to stalk your prey, like the polluted Dead Horse Lake, the vacation residence of Golden Shores, and the rich paradise of Prosperity Sands. While each area is unique enough to explore, there are only a few missions in each one before they start to repeat. It all comes down to hunt X amount of fish, consume X amount of humans, and take out the apex predator before the face-off with Scaly Pete. However, in a game with an ocean full of possibilities, there's your own fun to be had. There's becoming the top of the food chain, finding all of the landmarks, which include references to other media.
Sea sponges' demand for pineapple homes has sparked massive deforestation throughout Costa Rica.
Or just watching the waves at the Sapphire Bay Pier.
Battle for Bikini Bottom will not be fought. It will be play! Help SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy foil Plankton's evil scheme to take down Bikini Bottom. SpongeBob SquarePants, the Battle for Bikini Bottom, now available on your favorite game system.
When it comes to licensed video games, the majority of them have been mediocre due to rushed games hitting store shelves to release alongside a blockbuster movie. But it's not just movies. While games based on movies aren't always the best, they've done better than games based on children's cartoons. These games are infamous for being cheap cash grabs that take advantage of unaware parents buying a game for their children. However, one title managed to stand out from the rest and became one of the best cartoon video games ever. Originally released in 2003, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom is a 3D platformer that became a cult classic among fans of the show. It gained popularity online thanks to the speedrunning community, which kept pushing for a re-release or a remake. Released nearly 2 decades after the original, fans finally saw an update to one of their favorite games in 2020 with SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. Developed by Purple Lamp Studios and published by THQ Nordic, the Rehydrated edition aimed to faithfully recreate the game that fans remembered and avoid any frustrations from the era to ease the experience for modern consoles. The overall game is still the same, but with a fresh coat of paint. There are new animations, additional content, and a fast travel system has been added to help search for the many collectibles. One thing that did remain unchanged is some of the characters don't share the same voice actors from the show, and it reuses the audio from the original game.
No money means no more Krusty Krab.
What about the children?
The children? I don't care about the children. I just care about their parents' money!
Looking at the game, it's like jumping into an episode of the show. Plankton is up to his usual scheme of trying to steal the Krabby Patty formula. His latest invention clones robots to be used at his command, but he forgets to set the switch to obey, which lets loose the rampant robots. Joining SpongeBob are Patrick and Sandy, who all have their own unique moves and abilities. SpongeBob has his bubbles and jellyfish net, Patrick can pick up items, and Sandy has her lasso. Together, all three travel through some of the show's most iconic locations across platforms and boss battles, from the familiar Pineapple home on SpongeBob Street to the greater areas like Jellyfish Fields and Sandy's Tree Dome. There's plenty to explore in the battle for Bikini Bottom. It's a simple platformer, but it captures the charm of the character and the humor from the early era episodes of one of the most popular cartoons on the Nickelodeon channel.
That was quite a battle. Tell him what he's won, Johnny.